Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Mindful Minutes, Season 1, Episode 2. This is your host, Tanay Sarpoddar. Mindful Minutes was conceived to brainstorm marketing ideas and strategies specifically for small and medium businesses. There's a huge potential in our country, and it's time we give ourselves a new perspective to look at us. I'm deeply humbled with the support and love that you all have shared. Please continue to do so in future as well. I'm also grateful to our sponsor, Maranoid, the marketing agency and strategic consulting firm that's designed to empower small and medium businesses. They've made this podcast series possible, and they're also helping us bring you the best insights in B2B marketing. Do check out their website for more details. For the second episode, I have with me Amarendra Chitale, NLP Master Trainer, coaching psychotherapist, founder and CEO of AgileNeuro, President-AAANLP, a wonderful athlete, cricketer, tennis player, and above all, a dear friend. I still remember when I met this freakishly tall fellow in school. Now his work is soaring new heights. Well, Amarendra is straight as an arrow, no words minced, no shyness, and an appetite for laughter. There is no one in this world who wouldn't enjoy his training. It's an irony in a sense that we would be discussing neuro-linguistic programming when actually we want an unprogrammed opinion. Hey Amarendra, thank you for accepting the invitation and welcome to our Mindful Minutes podcast Season 1.
Hey, thank you so much, Tanay, for inviting me to this great, valuable, insightful podcast. I'm sure that I've seen your earlier podcast and it was a grand success. And this is really a great, unique initiative that you've taken so that, marketers, businessmen all around the world can be benefited out of these pearls of wisdom which various speakers give. I hope I can, do justice to this podcast today. Like you said, I'll be as straight as an arrow and make sure that I give as much as I can in this podcast.
Awesome. Yes, we will be casual. So let's get started then. Our topic for today is cultivating a B2B success mindset using neuro linguistic programming or NLP specific to marketing. NLP, as far as I know, is part of neuroscience. It deals with how the brain can be programmed to change the way we think or how we feel and process experiences. So, how did you first get interested in NLP? And if you want to add anything more to the early definition.
Well, when I finished my graduation and post-graduation, I was working in sales, and at that time, as you know, how we start our careers as freshers. So I was like a sales officer looking after a city, and then I grew in my career, became the country manager for a financial firm. So when you become a country manager, you have a lot of people, those who are reporting to you. Of course, you have a lot of clients, some organizations that I used to work with very closely as channel partners, or like India Post, State Bank of India, and Wiseman Forex, Wall Street Forex. There are so many of them. Almost major BFSI sector companies I used to be partnering with. So, as a country manager, you would realize that when you're looking at the business end of it, the bottom line is that you should be able to get money to the company so that you are able to put food on the table. As simple as that. And so I used to follow a lot of best practices at that time, which other people, maybe what the competitors were doing at that time. And then I used to follow a lot of other people who had done best in the field. While I was, kind of following all of this, I heard of neuro-linguistic programming and its applications in various fields. Now, to begin with, I was told about neuro-linguistic programming that It is a branch of neuroscience. It's a branch of psychology, which can help you achieve any outcome in your life. Now, that one sentence was so impactful for me that, so if I learn NLP, I think I'll be able to achieve anything in my life, including what I was currently doing. And then I heard the second statement that NLP has a lot of therapeutic techniques which help you deal with a lot of mental issues, like dealing with unwanted cravings, unwanted habits, dealing with phobias, dealing with negative emotions, traumas, depression, problem solving, etc. Now that again interested me a lot, because I have always been interested in psychology. A lot of people don't realize is that business and sales is a lot more about psychology to begin with in the first place, because if you can understand the psychology of who you're dealing with, then you are able to sell better. So that again got me interested. And then there was this third statement which came up, that if you're not using NLP, then you're working too hard. Okay, that was another statement that came up. And I was like, oh, so maybe I can earn more money, maybe I can earn more incentives in my job by working a little less, by doing a little bit of smart work, if I learn NLP. So that all these three things, these three statements actually stuck with me. And what I did after that is I started researching on how I could learn NLP. Now, in those days, people were not using too much of YouTube. I mean, YouTube was there, but they were not using too much of it, and very less content on NLP. NLP was there. But then I got to know a few British trainers who would come to India, and they would train in NLP at that time. And quite gleefully, I attended one of the first certification, and that really blew my socks off. I just realized that NLP not only has applications in sales and business, but it also has applications in goal setting, personal goal setting, professional goal setting. It has applications in leadership, which again, that was another role that I was, playing at that time while I was the country manager. Along with that, it has a lot of applications in parenting, etc. I mean, you name the area and NLP has an application in it. And so after I did my first level of NLP, like I said, my socks just blew off. And I realized that I need to go all the way, and I need to complete all the 3 levels of NLP. So it's been now close to 12, 13 years that, I've learned NLP. And I've completed all the 3, not only 3, but 4 levels. Now I'm a master trainer of NLP. And believe me, in my business now, I have my own business. When you are a country manager, you are salaried and you are working for another organization. But, when you start your own business, I tell this a lot of times to budding and entrepreneurs, that you work 10 times more compared to how much you work when you are salaried. But then I realized when I started with my own business, I realized that NLP actually made a lot of things easier for me, because business happens because of people. One aspect in NLP, like I mentioned earlier, there is one therapeutic application of NLP. There is one aspect of how you can program your brain to achieve anything. Third aspect is obviously the interpersonal aspect of NLP, where, if you can connect with people very well, then you can do business very well. Remember, people actually don't buy your product first. They first buy trust. And NLP has such wonderful techniques in it, so that, you can really connect with them, and they start trusting you, and then you get good business. That's and it is whatever techniques I've learned in NLP, I've used all of them. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that all the techniques that I've used till today, I have been successful in each and every one of them at each and every occasion. So that's something, which I'm really blown off with. Thank God that 12, 13 years ago, I learned this, and things are really working out well.
No, this is super awesome. Super awesome. And thank you for sharing that. I remember you saying, and you repeated it right now as well, that if you aren't using NLP, then you're working too hard. So that's food for you, food for thought, fellas. There are a lot of things that are covered under NLP, not just for business, not just for leadership, but like Amarendra mentioned, for all facets of business, NLP is definitely going to be important. Amarendra, from a marketing perspective, can marketers use them to develop a success mindset? Anything specific in NLP, that a specific lesson or specific area or the entire NLP session in itself will be required for marketers to develop a success mindset?
It's an interesting thing, mindset. A lot of times people have that wrong. And that mindset comes with motivation. If you are really motivated to achieve something, you will end up achieving it. Like, for example, smokers are really motivated to smoke. Drinkers are really motivated to drink. Okay, there is not going to be one day, without unless they are in jail, of course. Okay, they are always going to because they are motivated. Okay, so every day they'll probably drink. Every day they'll probably smoke. So motivation is a very important aspect of business, of sales, of marketing. And NLP has a very specific module in it where you can first of all, you can set your goals very easily using certain structure. Okay. When you follow that structure, what that structure actually ensures that you not only set your goals, but you make your goals compelling. So it's easily, you just have to give 1.5 hour, 2 hours only for the so if any marketer or any businessman really wants to set goals and wants to make those goals compelling for himself or herself or for the team, then it's really 1.5 hour, 2 hours where we do certain activities, we do certain interventions, and then those goals are set and they are made compelling. Now, once the goals are made compelling, now you have the mindset. Now you are in a hurry. You really want to go out there and do it now, achieve it now. A lot of times I see that people decide what to do, but they don't go and do it because it is not compelling. They are not in a hurry. It's like joining a gym for 6 months, deciding to join a gym, and they join the gym for 6 months, but go only for 15 days because it is not compelling.
Perfect example.
So NLP makes sure that you not only go to the gym, metaphorically speaking, and NLP ensures that you not only go to the gym for 6 months, but you also fight with the manager to give you extension of 2 more months for free. Because you've helped that manager to get 2-3 more clients. Okay. So building that kind of mindset, NLP is the best school of thought, is what I think.
Awesome. This is very interesting. I love the example specifically. They're going to hit the thread directly. As marketers, there have been a lot of magical expectations from the external audience, internal audience, and these simple lessons would definitely help to figure out, let's say from an external perspective, how to define or derive a campaign that will perform at the highest level, or for an internal audience, how can I create or define a problem solving model that will help grow or motivate my team. So personally, I would love to be in a situation where I come out with well formed outcomes rather than something that is literally array. And I think NLP will definitely help people. So I am sold on NLP, but if I have to say, if you can emphasize more on NLP benefits, that'll help.
Okay, for this, I'd like to tell you a story, and it's a very interesting story.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, I have this friend, okay, in the heart of Pune city. He has a mobile store, okay, and in the heart of the city, in that part of the city, there are many stores, many mobile stores. So, which means there is a lot of competition, okay. So he was complaining to me one day. We were just having weekend beers, okay. Generally, we hang out and we have weekend beers, and he was just complaining that, you know what, I don't know, I'm not really sure if I'll be able to do good business over here, especially with this cutthroat competition and which is existing. I said, let me come to your store. I went to his store. I saw how they were selling over there. Okay, I really made sure that I note down blow by blow everything that they were doing over there in order to sell. Now, I realized I just thought of one aspect of NLP, and that is learning styles. Okay, something that we learn in NLP, and learning styles. Anybody would probably say that learning styles is all about teaching and learning and related to students and all that. But really, learning styles is all about how you actually process information in your head. There are 5 senses, out of which 3 senses you use to learn. That is seeing, hearing, and doing. Right now, if you can understand what is the learning style of, and people use one sense more compared to the other sense, or 2 senses more compared to the other senses. Now, if you understand what is somebody's learning style, then you can actually sell any product to that person using that learning style. I'll give you an example. So I realized that there were people coming into the store. I realized that there was one person, and I recognized that person on the basis of the body language. And this is what they teach you in NLP. Analyze the person in terms of body language. In fact, even looking at the eye movements, you can analyze what is the learning style of that person. And I realized that one customer was a visual customer. And then I said that let me sell a mobile phone to this person. So I just asked this guy to move aside, the salesman to move aside, and I just said, let me handle this customer. I spoke about one particular mobile phone which had great camera quality. I spoke about the screen size. I spoke about different colors and the different covers with different colors. I also spoke about the front camera, back camera, etc. I mean, so everything visual. And of course, I gave other information as well about the phone, but I made sure that the visual aspect is highlighted in that sales pitch. And he bought that mobile phone from me. And then I thought that so I had this other salesman looking at me, that was a fluke. Okay, it's a beginner's luck or something like that. But then I said, let me sell another mobile phone to someone. So there was this another person who came in, and I realized this person is a kinesthetic person. Kinesthetic in the sense, somebody who does something and learns. So I gave information, but while giving the information, I gave the mobile phone in his hand. Spoke about how comfortable this mobile is, spoke about how comfortable the mobile is to hold, and the operations, how easy the operations are. All these are kinesthetic aspects. He got sold there. Then another customer came in who was auditory. I spoke about how clear the sound is, sound clarity is good. In fact, I made sure that he listened to the clicks also of the mobile phone, when you click on the buttons. And so likewise, I was able to gauge the other person's learning style, and on that day I sold 5 mobiles without having much knowledge about the mobile industry. Of course, I'd done a little bit of homework to begin with, and then we had a bunch of salesmen and who were looking at me as if the same expression that they've discovered fire. Okay, and then my friend was looking at me with his jaw dropping. And I said to him that, you know what, you all are looking so surprised, but actually it is very simple. And so this was and then later on, they all did this training with me. And thankfully now, from that day till now, ever since we've had beers together on any of the weekends, I've never heard him say that about the cutthroat competition or anything, because he's doing quite well. But he's made sure that all his salesmen are actually trained in NLP. So one nice example. I mean, I've got lots of stories, but maybe at some other time.
Oh, this is super helpful, Amarendra. So there are very few things, or very simple things, I can put it in this way, that if we implement them, then you get better results. But simple is always difficult. From a business perspective as well, it's very easy that when people ask for a marketer, what is it that you're working on? So what is the answer? What is the question that is asked first? How do you do it? is answered next, and why you do it is answered last. If you ask me, and that is also again based on a lot of brainstorming sessions that I've had with you, a lot of reading that I've done alongside. I have kind of tried to figure it out that if you answer why first, and incidentally how and what, you make a better messaging, you make a better pitch, and you come out as a better company. So I'm sure neuro-linguistic programming is not just training or tuning your brain to do something bad. It's just trying to clear and make him understand how the brain usually works. And I've seen professionals get better, as you rightly mentioned, at self-awareness. Their communication gets improved. They have enhanced creativity and even greater emotional intelligence, overall an improved performance, like you mentioned. So NLP definitely helps. Moving on, does NLP also help to recognize some psychological cues? You mentioned earlier that it has a psychological end, or does that come under emotional intelligence, like overcoming phobias or fear or stress? You mentioned one that's a fear of competition, but there are stress, anxiety, self-confidence. Does that come under emotional intelligence, or does that gets covered under NLP?
I feel that emotional intelligence is all about the four main competencies: self awareness, how much you know yourself, okay, your SWOT analysis, your beliefs, your values, your personality. Now, logic says if you are self aware, if you know yourself very well, then you can manage yourself very well. That is the second competency, which is self management. Now, here there are various techniques of channelizing emotions, regulating emotions, etc. Then you have the third competency, which is others awareness, how well you are able to read other people. Okay, now logic says if you can read other people very well, then you can manage them very well. And that's the fourth competency, which is others management. Now, in emotional intelligence, whatever, emotional regulation techniques that we learn, these are generally at a very surface structure level, as in how you can get wisdom by looking at something from a different perspective, or how you can use your emotions for your advantage. That's primarily what is taught in emotional intelligence. Now, if you want to go into the therapeutic depth, okay, of like what you mentioned earlier, that let's say phobias, stress, depression, and traumas, etc., dealing with unwanted habits, unwanted cravings, for that I think NLP is the better option, because it is not as surface structure as emotional intelligence. Now, that does not mean that emotional intelligence is useless. It is not. It will actually help you, because emotional intelligence will help people to be better in channelizing emotions, reading other people, managing other people. Leadership is a part of that school of thought. But NLP will help you go deeper. So, if I were to metaphorically show you an umbrella, and let's call that umbrella NLP, one sector of that umbrella will be emotional intelligence. Okay, so that's how it is.
Awesome. And there are a lot more alongside that you're working on. I know that, and I'm going to expand that to the audience as well later in the podcast. So overall, as far as what I've understood is, we can use all these NLP techniques, or all the techniques inside NLP, to understand our customers better, to define more effective marketing messages, and last but not the least, develop a stronger customer relationship. In fact, to divide further, a marketer can or should be able to better understand a customer's emotional trigger and get better results in the campaigns. So we used to perform review sites. We used to have a lot of different campaigns wherein you kind of pull out intent signals. Those intent signals get fed into the CRM, but that's just data. If you don't understand the intent signal, if you don't learn around that intent signal, that's just data. But these allied activities will help you better understand how to leverage those emotional triggers and get better results in the campaign. And from a sales and advocacy perspective, definitely they can mirror a prospect's body language or communication style and close faster, or if required, in a tense situation, kind of calm and reassure a kind of a flagged customer. So wonderful, wonderful. Just a spin off. Are there any ethical considerations or challenges of using NLP? Like, for example, NLP can be used to manipulate or control people, or it is very complex, or there are very few skilled NLP trainers, something of that sort that you've heard, or you want to clear that?
Well, I think, and here's an interesting statement that I'd like to make, that our brain is actually hardwired anyways for manipulation. Our brain is anyways hardwired to lie. Okay. Out of the 8 billion people that are there in this world, I don't think anybody can claim today that they've never lied, okay, in their life. Because you see, that's how our brain is hardwired. But moving on from there, I think NLP, one of the pillars or one of the principles of NLP is the ecology part. We make sure that during the trainings, we talk about the ecology. What is ecology? Ecology is when you are setting certain goals or when you are going about achieving those goals, you make sure that you are not hurting any other area of your life, your own life, adversely. And you are not hurting anyone else's life also adversely. That is something an ardent follower of NLP, a good student of NLP will always make sure that somebody else's or his or her own ecology is not adversely affected. So this is the most important point. Another important point is that people talk about NLP has a lot of hypnotic language patterns where you can influence and persuade people to buy and stuff like that. I would say that as an NLP certified sales or business professional, you have that you can say the magic wand where you can make people realize what they really need when you are actually pitching in something. Like, for example, I said to you earlier that people don't buy the product first, but they buy trust first. So, and trust has 3 components to it. One is your credibility as a service provider or a product provider. One is what rapport you have or emotional connect you have with your prospective or your existing customer. Third is the logic by which you are explaining to the customer that why he or she needs to buy something like this. Now, all of this comes with a very simple premise that you have asked sufficient number of questions to identify what the customer really values. Now, when you understood what the customer values, then it is very easy for you to present a product which kind of satisfies those values. That's the logic part. But let me come to credibility first. All the service providers, almost all the service providers, almost all the product providers will have their website which talks about their credibility, which talks about testimonials, which talks about the past successes. That is, their website is like a foreign minister on somebody's laptop. Okay, where, so the credibility is built over there. And maybe other people are also talking about, you have Google ratings and then you have comments over there. So other people are also talking about that company. Maybe you highlight that on your website. That builds your credibility over there, doesn't it? And then, of course, when it comes to rapport, which is, the second aspect of trust, NLP actually has a very interesting technique by which you can build rapport with anybody in this world in a matter of 3 minutes. And it does not have to be, you have to be meeting them face to face. You can build rapport over a phone, you can build rapport over a call, over Zoom, over Microsoft Teams, whatever it is.
Wow.
And you can build rapport in a matter of 3 minutes. And if the credibility part is done well, and if the logic part is done well, then they start trusting you. And then it's just a matter of asking them that, doesn't it make sense that you should buy this? It's just one closing statement that you need to make after you've done these 3 things properly. Now, NLP gives you the entire roadmap of how you achieve this. Now, you could be a digital marketer. You could be a person who might be selling, um, a Tide soap on the road, okay, or some detergent going to various shops. Irrespective of who you are, you just have to fine tune how you are selling it using various techniques of NLP, and there you are. You will be as good as Zig Ziglar, who was known to be, the best car salesman. Uh, he started off selling cars using NLP techniques, and his 1 month, and believe me, this is true, that his during the off season, his 1 month volume of sales of used cars was much more compared to the other salesmen combined in the peak season. So his off season sales figures were much better than all the salespeople combined in the peak season. So, and he used to use concepts of NLP. So yeah, I mean, I think you must have realized by now that there are so many aspects, so many concepts, which, if learned properly and implemented properly, well, then I think it will be good for our economy, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a different cue to Zig Ziglar as well. People just read it. They don't look behind the person. So that's why you need a cognitive interventionalist or a master trainer like Amarendra. You have a different perspective on the things that you've already read. Coming to the last section of the podcast, do you think in a B2B, B2C environment, I know you've touched it a little bit, but do you think in a B2B, B2C scenario, anything changes for marketers? Uh, Anything can change for the better for marketers, since B2B is more long term relations focused, B2C is more driven by emotions. So, will NLP change anything for B2B or B2C, or will it be same?
Well, I think first of all, we need to understand the basic difference between B2B and B2C. B2B is definitely something that, it requires. So let's say there's a prospective client and you are trying to win the client. Okay. And so this will involve talking to a lot of stakeholders, which means you need to have a lot of interpersonal skills. You need to have that language so that you can satisfy the multiple stakeholders. And the focus is always supposed to be long term. So to win a B2B customer, I think, prospective customer, I think it takes a little longer. But having said that, if you can, play your dices right, okay, then it'll take a shorter time, especially if you use NLP. As compared to that B2C, okay, you are dealing with probably one or two people, or at the most 3 or 4 people if they are coming to you, or if you are going to them. And it's a time wise, obviously it is a shorter duration, where and so over there you need to be a little thinking on your feet, doing certain things. So it's like a T20 match, okay, when it comes to B2C. Or when it comes to B2B, it's more like a test match. Okay, now understanding this difference, okay, is extremely important, so that learning NLP is one thing, but picking out bits and pieces of it, of what are you going to use, how are you going to use it, for the B2B initiative and B2C initiative, that's really where the art of NLP comes in. NLP, they say that it's psychology, it probably is neuroscience, but I think NLP is more of an art, because learning the concepts is one thing, implementing it and customizing it according to the need is another. We make sure that at least in AANLP, that is Asian Association of NLP, whatever trainings we run for people with NLP, we make sure that we give multiple examples from various areas of life. So let's say there's a concept, we'll give examples, from business perspective, from sales perspective, from leadership, from relationships perspective, from parenting, you name it, and we have examples for it. So that gives them the clarity that, okay, next time when I encounter this issue, okay, maybe I'll use my language pattern. Linguistics is a very, very important part of NLP because it is neuro-linguistic programming. So how I use my language is very important. So I think when they learn about all these examples, they are in a better position to implement it in their life. And again, implementation is very important because then it sticks with you. If you don't implement it, then it kind of sublimes, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, comparing B2B, B2C, first of all, like I said, the distinction should be very clear in your head. The strategy, the difference in strategy should be very clear in your head. And once that difference in strategy is clear, then it's just about applying the NLP structure over there. And there you go, you get the award for the employee of the year or the businessman of the year.
Awesome. Now that's absolutely true. You pointed it perfectly. And even in my career early days, I figured it out pretty clearly that everyone needs a periodic realignment, not just with technical aspects, but also with business aspects. It's one thing to just implement a campaign or to get it done, but if you understand the business aspect of it, then you're better equipped as a professional, be it any department. You're better equipped, and if you're clear on each one, then we can figure out how to program, how to devise campaign, how much to invest, and all those nitty-gritties. And then the job is much more interesting and fun. There's one aspect that I've loved in NLP, which is modeling techniques to accelerate learning to achieve excellence. So as a master trainer, Amarendra, if you can give one piece of NLP advice to B2B marketers before we wrap up this podcast, what would it be?
I'll start off by answering that question by making a very important statement. And that statement is, do you all know what is the definition of insanity? According to Einstein, the definition of insanity is people continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
Something which doesn't work for you, you need to do it differently. You need to do something different. Now, modeling, that's an important point which you brought up, because NLP, in fact, the effectiveness of NLP is because of one of the important topics in NLP is modeling. How you model any person to produce the same result as that person is able to produce. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say somebody makes a very delicious chocolate cake, okay? And let's say you've been making a chocolate cake which is used as a discus throw, okay? Because you tried making a chocolate cake and then it became so hard that you could not use a knife, you had to use an axe. You realize that, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I should just model somebody who's extremely good when it comes to baking a chocolate cake. Now, what you do is you kind of note down the strategy of that person, blow by blow strategy of what that person does, not only behavior wise, but also what that person is thinking at each step. Now, if you replicate exactly what that person is doing internally in the mind as well as externally to the behavior part, then you will have exactly the same result as that person. Now, coming to business part of it, if you are not doing well in business, or if you feel that you can do better, and if, let's say, you reach an impasse that why am I not getting that result? Over here, what you really need to do is you need to have three role models in the area of business. Just elicit their strategy. Elicit in the sense, understand how they are running their business. What are they exactly doing? What are they doing which you are not doing? And what are you doing which they definitely are not doing? Okay. Now, when you start modeling that, then you realize that immediately from the next month or maybe a couple of months, your results change, because now you don't come under that Einstein's definition of insanity, because now you started doing something differently. Okay. So
Correct.
I think that's the important. So the advice that I'd like to give people is follow the definition which Einstein has given, model some good role models in that specific area where you'd like to improve. And of course, one piece of advice, obviously, that if really you are in, by listening to this podcast, if you are really interested in what NLP is all about, um, then get trained in NLP. As simple as that.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been a wonderful session, Amarendra. As always, there are lots to learn, lots to imbibe, and I'm hooked on to learning this art. I've always been, and I'm sure everybody on this podcast will be hooked on to learning this new art, not just a neuroscience that deals with how the brain can be programmed to change the way we think, feel, and process experiences. Guys, you also have to check out AgileNeuro Academy on AgileNeuro and AANLP.org. These are all the brainchilds of Amarendra. You'll see a lot of courses, trainings that are that Amarendra is taking, and there is a huge, database of people who've already benefited from these courses. Along with that, Amarendra has also written an amazing book on life transforming neuro magical stories. It's available on Kindle. If you want a paperback copy, you can DM me on LinkedIn, or you can reach directly to Amarendra. I'm going to share his link on my LinkedIn post. Well, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, Amarendra, once again. I know that, there's a lot more that we can discuss, but for now, we'll hold on to this session. For everybody else, do subscribe, rate, and review this channel. Follow me on LinkedIn for more updates. Remember, marketing is not a cost center, it's an investment center. Let's treat it like one. This is Tanay Sarpotdar on Mindful Minutes. Thank you for joining us. Namaskar. Take care.